Welcome to the Recipe, welcome to Red Night Live, welcome to your favorite Metroid channel. Today, I want to discuss what comes after the Viola suit. But before we get to that, I actually want to talk about what led me to actually thinking about this. So here's what happened. On one of my recent Metroid videos, someone made a comment that literally left me just dumbfounded. I couldn't believe this statement was being made about the Metroid series, but it was genuine. It was so genuine that I was watching a whole other content creator's Metroid video, and that same person was making the comment there. I didn't even respond on my video. I responded there with something along the lines of, "Oh, so you everywhere with this, right?" And just put some smiley face. And I think he even responded back to me just with some smiley faces. And look, he's free to think whatever he want to think, but it's just crazy to me. So I'm gonna tell you exactly what it was. This is crazy. He basically said something along the lines of, the Metroid series or Metroid Prime 4 Beyond isn't that popular because it's too cartoony. It's so cartoony. And when I saw that, I was like, what? Like, since when was Metroid not colorful and cartoony? If you lined up all of Samus's suit, you damn near make a rainbow. You probably would make a perfect rainbow. She done had that many colors. I'm thinking the dread suits now and everything. She got all the colors, basically. So that's weird. The fact that Metroid always color codes enemies in order to give players a clear description of their power levels or to separate them. Hell, Metroid Prime literally uses different color characters and different color beams go with those specific colors. Like, it was all about being color coded. And then you had the world, which was varied in environments, enemies that are varied. And again, the enemies from separating, like what I was just talking about, which was mostly space pirates, but even the other enemies all throughout and bosses have always been super colorful. Metroid Prime was literally multicolored. Yeah, she was mostly black, but she had red, yellow, purple. After you defeat that form, she's blue, red, purple. Like, then she goes into Dark Samus, and even Dark Samus is multiple levels of blue. She goes from being very dark to then being super blue, and then damn near Skeletor. Like, it's just an evolution with that character. But the point is that the series is always bright, down to Phazon, down to Metroids. Metroids are green, and then you had different color ones in Metroid Prime. You know what I mean? And the whole world is just like, the hot area is more red. The other area that's cold is blue. You know, that's for your frozen areas and things like that. Then you got your green areas, and then you got your super science fiction areas that could throw multi-neon colors and everything. Like, that's what the series always been. Samus has almost always had an anime-like look more than not. Yeah, Metroid Prime kind of made it more realistic. And then, obviously, a lot of Zero Suit Samus is anime looking. But it's always been colorful. Then you get to the last entry, the most popular entry. Yes, the most popular Metroid game, the most purchased Metroid game ever. And Samus is literally the most colorful she's ever been. So the argument of like, oh, the series is too colorful. Nah, like, Viola suit is fire. It's red and black. Yeah, you got the purple in it. That's cool. And it's like, oh, pink everywhere and stuff like that. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean pink everywhere? Like it, I don't understand. Like, it fits perfectly with the vehicle and everything. So I don't get it. We've already see a lot of variety in locations and art style and enemies looking that like they can be from regular old Metroid Prime 1 to some enemies looking like they pulled out of like Halo 4 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's all good stuff. And it's a tone that's very like a teen animated cartoon. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Metroid always been. I've always said Metroid would have been super good as a realistic movie, you know, that is basically a callback to what the series is always referencing, which is Alien, something like that. A very intimate movie that's super, just basically John Wick in space. Like, that's basically, to me, the perfect Doom movie, the perfect Metroid movie. Metroid, more story than the Doom movie should have. Doom should lean way more into the John Wick. Listen, the point is that Metroid has always been super colorful, and you can look at it as something that can be super mature in live action. But I've always thought, while I've always wanted the live action thing, that it will work great as an anime. And I remember reading the Nintendo Power Metroid Prime magazine that was literally stitched into the middle of the Nintendo Power issues for like 3 months or something like that. Whatever the run was for the comic to, you know, get to completion. I remember reading that and it was amazing. I was like, man, they should make this an animated movie, you know? And then obviously you get to the Smash Brothers stuff and Samus running around with Pikachu, you know, in Subspace Emissary. Like, Samus has always, to me, just been able to be the mature character that people always look at her as. You know, when they look at the Nintendo list of characters, they go, oh yeah, Zelda and Metroid, those are like the mature games, you know? And Fire Emblem gets thrown in there and Xenoblade now, but, you know, Metroid and Zelda was always the ones that was like, oh yeah, those are like the mature Nintendo games and they're teen games. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be like Zelda is not supposed to be The Witcher or God of War, and Metroid is not trying to be, you know, Call of Duty or even something like Titanfall 2. That's far more realistic, military, futuristic sci-fi. You know what I mean? Like, it's not trying to really be that 100%. It's always been way more whimsical, magical, and stuff like that. You know, so to me, the argument that, oh, the series is too colorful, that's why nobody's carrying it out, it's like Dread was the most colorful. Samus was mad colors in that game, and then ended even being what she was, green, red with some like yellow or super light green highlights on her in the Metroid suit. Like, it's just been a series that's always involved colors, from your ammunition, from the light world to the dark world. That was literally playing with color, like in a way deeper, you know, meaning than just, oh, the enemy, you know, color, even though that was part of it, but the whole world was actually affecting you now. And being in it for long took its toll until it didn't. You know, you got suits that went dark and then became literally the lightest suit in the series, literally the light suit, you know, from dark suit to light suit. I hope I've established my thoughts on this idea that Metroid is too colorful, me disagreeing completely with that notion. It's not what it is. Like, Metroid is no different from Zelda, where it can have different art styles. Like, to me, you can do, I mean, Metroid has already had multiple art styles. So it's like, I could just say, look at the series. It's already went from fusion style to the sprite style of Super Metroid. Those are two different art styles. To the NES style, because of the 8-bit style, that's a different art style. Prime to Dread to Other M, you know what I mean? Those are different art styles. And while even Hunters try to be like the Prime art style, that's a different art style. And look, the less we say about Federation Force, the better. You know, so it's been always something that in my mind can be different. I remember I saw the concept art of Next Level Games Samus, you know, for a Metroid game that they had pitched. And I thought, while it was super like edgy Saturday morning cartoon, super big arm cannon, skinny legs on Samus with the shoulder, you know, being extra like big, like, I thought it worked. And I was, yeah, I would have played the hell out of that. That would have been great. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was third person or 2D, I don't know what Next Level Games would have did, but whatever they did with Luigi's Mansion worked. So I would have given them a shot to see what they do. And I am open as a Metroid fan to, again, any kind of art style. If you want to take it super cartoony, you could take it there too. If you want to bring it up and make it like super realistic, I'm not going to be opposed to that either. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Metroid, suits, colors, and abilities, all these things are super important. Now, we can never know what's actually next, but we can theorize a bit. Look, the Viola suit clearly isn't the first suit you're going to get. You're still going to get your well, you don't really see the power suit in here. You see the Varia suit with the shoulders. So you're going to have your Varia suit from the start. And then I don't know if you're going to lose your abilities, go down to like the power suit, and then have to work your way up back to the Varia suit. And then maybe there's a other suit in between, you know, the Varia suit and you getting Viola. But I don't think so, because if I had to guess how this is going to play out, they probably want you to play that prologue. Hopefully it'll be a little extended, you know, for the actual final release and not the exact thing we saw on Treehouse Live, right? Silex shoots the artifact. You get transported through time. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. You see that title screen. You're super excited. Still in her Varia suit, Samus arrives on Vuros. I believe Vuros, the first place that we arrive to, will be that forest area, because that's what we first saw when we saw this game. So it'll be that beautiful foresty area to give you that vibe of Metroid Prime 1, that Talon vibe. New players of the series can get that same kind of vibe we got all those years ago. And in this area, I believe you'll find expansions to your health, find expansions to your weaponry, and eventually you're going to find psychic abilities. And those psychic abilities are going to allow you to open doors. And one of those doors that you're going to open, and I'm talking after this foresty first area of Euros that you're going to encounter, teaches you all the basics of the game, all of them, right? And gives players an idea for how you got to move, how you got to think, how you got to scan, how you got to turn into a morph ball, walls that might be like, oh yeah, that one looks iffy. Maybe I need a missile for that. Maybe, oh, that one's smaller. I need to turn into a morph ball, drop morph ball bomb. Like, I think a lot of those basics will be taught to you in this area. And then behind one of those doors, yes, one of those beautiful doors, there's going to be a Lemorne, probably the first one that we're going to encounter. Now, this Lemorne is going to do one of two things, I believe. The first scenario, the Lemorne is just straight up going to give you the Viola suit, which comes with the vehicle, and then point you towards the exit of this Great Plateau-like area for you to go on out into that open desert area and start visiting all these different biomes at your leisure. That's the first scenario, right? So they taught you everything. You learned everything. Now you got the new suit, the vehicle. Get out and enjoy and do what you want to do, right? That's the first scenario. The second scenario would be the Lemorne gives you coordinates. And those coordinates lead you to the suit. And then the suit, after that, you have to maybe upgrade that in order to get Viola. But that'll probably be a longer way to get, I say get off because I'm thinking like Great Plateau, but get out of that opening area, that basically tutorial-like area. If you think of the Great Plateau, they had 4 shrines that you had to complete before you could get your glider and you can get off. Maybe in this game, it's psychic abilities, it's Viola suit, and then Viola vehicle, and then you're free. Maybe it's those 3 things, and the 4th thing would be all the other mechanics that I mentioned, like destroying the wall and morph ball. Because those are mechanics that are exclusive to Metroid that you have to teach. It's been years, so I 100% expect the opening of this game to be tutorial heavy, but again, rightfully so. It needs to be, you know what I mean, for people to actually understand what they're about to get into, what they're about to play. So when they go into these other biomes, they don't have to be teaching you anything now. You know what you got to do, go off, do it, and enhance yourself and find stuff, check every nook and cranny. That separates it a lot from what, Breath of the Wild is. It like takes from Breath of the Wild, but still keeps it in that Ocarina of Time style where you're still going to go to these areas and upgrade yourself the same way you always did. It's not going to be, and when I say upgrade, I mean new abilities that, lead to you doing other things with those abilities, like taking out specific enemies quicker, opening doors. Obviously, that's a big part. We joke, but that's always been a giant part of Metroid. That's why people are like, oh, that's what they said in the trailer. I'm like, well, I mean, it's been mad years. And that is what you do in Metroid, whether the door is green, whether the door is purple, whether the door is white, whether the door is red. Remember, that's a part of it. So, yeah, that's what you're going to do in these different biomes. You're going to be doing the Metroid-y stuff, for sure, in these areas, and upgrading yourself and getting those abilities, I feel, in this game, for sure. It's not going to be a Sheikah Slate scenario where when you get off, the Great Plateau-like scenario that I'm painting here, and you got your vehicle and the brand new suit. It's like, yeah, that's it. It's done. You good. Enjoy. There's now only things you got to upgrade. There's no new abilities you're going to get. You're not going to be unlocking screw attacks, spider balls. Of course, like anybody who thinks that, I don't know where you're getting that from. This is still Metroid. This is still Metroid Prime 4. To name a game Metroid Prime 4 is to follow the rule set of Metroid Prime, unless you hunters, but that was different hardware. All right, that was a whole different thing, and they never pretended it was anything other than Metroid Prime Hunters. You know what I mean? It wasn't about adventure like that. That was a FPS. It was not a FPA. But yeah, look, I'm gonna get back to the point of this, which is talking about what's next in suits, but I just need to make sure I make this clear, because I'm saying, like, oh, it's not going to be like Breath of the Wild in many ways. Like in Breath of the Wild, when you went to the specific biomes of Breath of the Wild, you also upgraded yourself and made yourself stronger and got abilities that help you take out enemies quicker and things like that. It still did all the things that other Zeldas did. You know what I'm saying? So if Metroid leans more into Breath of the Wild or being Ocarina of Time style, it really doesn't matter, because Metroid being Metroid, it's gonna feel like both no matter which way they lean, honestly, because Zelda in many ways is like Metroid. So to me, as long as you don't have like this set, oh yeah, these are the set abilities and this is your Sheikah slate and da da da. So now you're not unlocking anything else. So it's like you learned everything that's, screw attack equivalent, speed boost equivalent, spider ball equivalent on the first, area, basically the Great Plateau of Vuros, of the opening of Prime 4 Beyond. And then when you're out there now, all you're doing is just getting stronger beams. Like, that's not what's going to happen. It's not at all. I don't know where this fear comes from. And it's not even something that happened in Zelda. Like, you upgrade yourself a lot as Link. And I know many people now, when they talk about, like, Breath of the Wild to Ocarina of Time, this is weird separation there that doesn't even really make sense in many ways. Because Breath of the Wild is just everything you did in Ocarina of Time, just bigger and better. You know what I'm saying? And it's never going to be something that people are going to outright say because of nostalgia and things like that. But if you added up all the shrines, they blow out all of the dungeons in Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask, and Skyward Sword, and Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker. I'm not saying combined. I'm saying each one. So when people try to act like the game is lacking on what makes it Zelda, that's not true. So I am in no way worried about Metroid, this FPA, being an FPA. It says it on the back of the box, for crying out loud. So now, all that said, let's get back to talking about these damn suits and what's next, because I literally been talking about everything but what I want to be talking about. So let's get back to it. Hopefully, kind of back on track. Look, it's Metroid. When I get into it, it's just I'm gonna go places with the conversation. But yeah, let's try to get back on track. So after all that being said, let's get back to Viola, because Viola is clearly a very important suit. And obviously the vehicle is named after that. I theorized, like, yeah, that suit is literally going to spawn the vehicle. That doesn't mean that there won't be more suits after this. What does that mean for the suit, and what does that mean for the vehicle? When you change your suit, and let's say your suit goes from red and black to purple and black, whatever, does the bike also switch now? Now the vehicle, Viola, is actually different because the Viola suit is different. That'll be cool. Does that mean that if whatever the upgrade is to the new suit, that the new gimmick of that suit, does it apply to the vehicle? And I'm wondering, what could the gimmick be? And that's really, what's next. If we go by the back of the box art, time is going to play a crucial role in this game. If you're actually playing with time and jumping through time, and there's a place where you go in order to change time, there's probably going to be a moment in this game where you're not going to have to go to that place no more to change time. So if you think the Dark World in Prime 2, you would have to go to specific places in order to warp. And then you will find little spots all throughout the map that you unlock that you'll be able to warp back to. And I'm guessing they couldn't just do instant time switching because of the hardware they were on. But now, they probably can. So you'll probably get a suit that allows you to jump through time. And if you look at the Viola vehicle, when Samus connects to it, you get that magic ability that looks very similar to the artifact that warped you to Vuros. That energy is in there. So I could see her actually having a suit that looks like that. Like maybe the shoulder cannons have that glow in it, and it's like transparent. I can see Samus looking more like that energy in there. And that energy maybe is, part of whatever the gimmick is. If it's not time, it's the psychic abilities. So if the psychic abilities are limited with the current suits you have, especially like the Viola suit, and because of that limitation, I guess, the vehicle only goes a certain speed, only shoot a certain amount, and who knows if your missile expansion, since your arm cannon goes in it, that's the amount you can shoot in the actual vehicle. So as your ammunition expands, the actual vehicle's ammunition expands. But now you got this new suit. So if you can jump through time with it, like I theorize, imagine you go on a certain speed, like Back to the Future, and then jump in through time. Maybe now you could do that even quicker. Maybe you could do it without the vehicle. Just with the suit now, you can just jump through time without having to go back to the overworld and speed up in the desert in order to change another biome. Maybe you could just be in that biome now, and with this new suit, just instantly press a button and switch, the time or whatever. There's a lot that they could do. And then whatever, again, this is just theorizing what the actual upgrade is, because in Metroid Prime 2, it was a dark suit. And the dark suit let you be more comfortable in the dark. But you were still in pain and you were still going to die if you stood there in the dark world without being in, the vicinity of one of those light bubbles. Now, when you got the light suit, you were free. You was Pete, Samus. You could run through the darkness because you were literally a bolt of energy. So I just feel like this game will probably have that same thing where there'll be like a half measure, upgrade to whatever is a thing that's a hindrance to you to make that easier. And then there'll be the second one, the equivalent of a light suit, And again, there could be a lot more suits. Even though Metroid games, they don't tend to have that many suits. So I feel like you might get the suits we've seen, which we've seen the Various suit, we've seen Viola, the two Vs basically, and now we got to get to whatever the next suits are going to be, I think we'll get two more after. So, I mean, two might seem like a little bit, but it depends again. It depends on how they go about, because look, you know what I feel like saying? So Breath of the Wild, y'all, there's been a lot of comparisons made, right? Oh, Nintendo, they on the open world trip. And I had my stance on saying a lot of the games that they've made open world, the games that I always saw going in that direction, right? So I'm happy with the direction that these games have been going in. And I like the options of, creating your own path and things like that. But that doesn't mean it's all well and good. I think it worked a lot better for me in the terms of Mario being Mario, and it's like Kingdom open, Mad Moons everywhere. I know people got issues with that. I love that, right? And it's just platforming here, platforming there, platforming everywhere, 2D sections there, all kinds of stuff, And while Zelda, they had puzzles everywhere and shrines everywhere. And I love Breath of the Wild. It's one of my favorite games of all time. You didn't have to get bombs. The Sheikah slate covered all of that. So because of that, it was like, yeah, you got that and that's it. And then people felt like, oh, there could have been, more things or things you could have found in a dungeon. But they didn't give you stuff from a specific dungeon because the game was out of order. So that you needed to have all these tools at all times. Because if you didn't, then the game would be broken to balance what they did with open air Breath of the Wild Zelda. Look, it was great. But there was something that was missing there from the old way of Zelda. And it affected even the dungeon design and what dungeons rewarded you with, right? While this Breath of the Wild design also rewarded you great with the, abilities of the champion. I love that. Again, it's like a give and take thing. And that's what I want to talk about. It's not like one is worse than the other. It's just different. Some Zelda fans find it like, oh, egregious. For me, it's just different. And again, those other games are there. If I want to play that style of Zelda, I can boot up Wind Waker. I can boot up Twilight Princess HD, Wind Waker HD. I got those. I'm just saying, while it's different, that doesn't mean it's bad. So maybe, and I don't even want to say this too loud because I do not want this to be the case, but maybe Viola is it. I know, sounds crazy. And you're like, what? I'm not saying that is the case. And if right now, arm cannon to my mother brain, you're like, choose right now. I would say, hell no, that's not the only suit in the game, other than her main suit, the Various suit. Like, no, we're going to see other suits in the game. But it could be less just for the simple fact that they're like, oh, you got all these set abilities already. Clearly, we still getting missiles expansion. Clearly, we're more than likely going to have to get the Morph Ball expansions, all of them, whatever they're, Spider Ball, whatever, Screw Attack and stuff like that. I think that's still going to be a thing, so I'm not too worried. But maybe there's going to be an element there of something that changes a bit. And that thing where it's like, oh, you want the suit in order to go to the fireplace. You want the suit in order to last long in the dark world. If the Viola suit is just like going from Various suit to Viola, and yeah, now you could go in hot area, you could go to cold area, you could move in water regular, none of that floaty stuff. Like, it covers everything. That's gonna bother some Metroid fans because I'm like, okay, if you cover all that, what's the replacement? You get what I'm saying? Like, we need a replacement. Like, it can't just be like, oh no, the replacement is that now you got the freedom of the world and going wherever you want and playing how you want, and no limitations of, oh, you don't got this suit or you don't got that suit. You can't go to the cold area. You can't go to the high area because you didn't have the specific suit. It's like, I get that. And there is a cool element there. And in actual, like practice, like you actually playing the game, I think you will feel that and be like, yeah, this shit is kind of cool though, And again, they'll have to literally put stuff there in order to make you even forget about the fact that, oh yeah, I didn't have to upgrade to move fast underwater. And I'm gonna be honest, me as a person who's played Metroid games for since the beginning, like all of them, yeah, I'm pretty fine with not going through those tropes again. But I know there's always gonna be that piece of the audience is gonna be like, oh, but now I like the evolution, of what came next being in that order. It was like, oh yeah, one was to go into high places. One made me a stronger, more resistance to this specific thing or this attack or whatever. And it's like, I think they could still figure something out because Prime can have a lot of updates. You can have upgrades to your Vaza because we don't even think about the Vaza and new Vaza. The Vaza was a big gimmick in the Prime games, and there's always been cool Vazas. So maybe it's like, yeah, now we're going to give you so many Vazas, so many weapons, so many so regular weapon, psychic weapons, regular updates to your upgrades and stuff like that. So it's like your upgrades got upgrades and things like that. They could do a lot because Samus does a lot. Then you got the vehicle, and that could be upgraded a lot. We don't know what the upgrades to the vehicle could be because they can be turning that vehicle into completely different things. What if they just showed us, oh yeah, it's Viola here for that, but over there it can become a giant mech, and over there it can be used to fly, to glide, to paraglide across a thing. We don't know. We saw one thing. We just saw assume that's it because it's on, Amiibo. So that got to be the only transformation. It's like, nah, they wasn't gonna make transformations to all the other ones, or maybe all the other transformations come out after we get a Nintendo Direct, after they show off a new trailer, show off more designs. And it's like, yeah, now we got this drop in November, and Silex actually has that other Amiibo and that other Amiibo that represent the other transformations of Viola. I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen. I don't even think that's what's gonna happen, but when it comes to amiibos, but in game, that can definitely happen where Viola has a lot of upgrades because that's Metroid's things. And not only that, not only just upgrading, but transforming. It's Samus in a suit, and then the suit transforms into multiple different suits. But then the suit could also transform into a morph ball, into doing screw attacks, into running through walls, turning itself basically into a missile to straight run through stuff. Like, it has so many abilities. And then in Dread, they added a lot more, like being able to go cloak, and things like that. So, yeah, it's always had these cool abilities. And even the abilities that were old were always made new in new games, like scanning in Super Metroid, to find secrets. It's like, yeah, it was there. But then they turned it into something completely different in order to give you story elements and more details on every single enemy design. You could just scan any of them and get so much lore. It just gave that game so much world building within it. That's why when there's a lot of narrators, oh, yo, there's not a lot of story in Metroid and all that. It's like, there's a lot of story. We've had a lot of story in Metroid games, and a lot of details. It's such a dense, while there's not, all these big, story beats that we could hit. The ones we got a lot of details and a lot of just life put into them through the different logs and different little, story details we get through various scans. And they gave texture and depth to the universe and the characters and things like that. So, yeah, there's a lot that can be upgraded. But what's next after Viola? It has to be cool because Viola is one of the coolest suits we've ever seen. It comes with a motorcycle. You could say whatever you want about it. You could say whatever you want about the design. I personally like it. I think it looks very beautiful. It could have been called the Red Knight suit and it would have been perfect. Look, it would have been the perfect name for that suit, but it's called Viola for whatever reason. Does it have an AI? Who knows? Maybe it doesn't have an AI. The version we're seeing right now. Maybe that's one of the upgrades. As you upgrade now, you download it. Maybe that little robot dude that you see in the back of the box art, maybe why he's important is because that's actually Viola. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you get the suit and that AI goes into it. So that AI could have been called, goddamn, I don't know, just a bunch of letters and numbers for all I care. But then it goes into the, Viola vehicle. So we calling it Viola. It is what it is. It could be that, and that could be the AI. Who knows? There's so much that they could do, and so much that could come after with this game. One thing I could say that you can't say about this game is that it's not intriguing as hell because it's such a weird game in the way it's being promoted, the way the trailers have been so secretive, the fact that nothing has leaked out, including this vehicle. If you believe any rumors about Metroid Prime, when none of them ever mentioned this, then you tripping. There are no leaks over there. Retro Studios is not talking, not saying nothing. And that's awesome. And it makes you just wonder, what could it be? Like, we have all these pre-made years and years of these ideas that basically are what make a Metroid game. And we seeing little things now that's showing like, oh, they're taking big swings in order to redefine what that actually means. We see the Metroid game in there. But now we're seeing some stuff that we've never seen in the Metroid game. How does this all apply? And if they're taking these swings, what does that mean for the rest of the game? What other crazy swings are they taking? And I think there's going to be some amazing ones. And not all of them are going to land with every Metroid fan. But the goal is hopefully that what they do, give to the world come December is something that overall is great. And then we talk about the series. We say we love where the series is at right now and where the potential for this to go from here with Metroid 5 and even Metroid Prime 5 and even Metroid 6. So you may be wondering, what does any of this have to do with Metroid 6? Nah, I'm just saying, listen, if the audience is super comfortable with Viola, and even if it ends up, becoming other stuff and switching into different kinds of vehicles for different uses, now you've expanded Samus into a character that jumps into vehicles and does things of that nature. So you could easily see that be introduced in the 2D games. Why not? So this is the best part about new entries in IPs that we love, especially ones that take forever to have a new entry, is that whatever the latest entry is can have completely massive altering implications on the rest of the series going forward. And that happens through you taking swings and doing new things. I feel like 2D Metroid can never, ever play anything less than what Dread was. Those mechanics, from the way you maneuvered it and controlled Samus's arm cannon. We can't go back to the rigidness of the 2D games prior to, the remake of Metroid 2 and Dread. Like, those added more elements, and Metroid 2 was like, oh yeah, you got to stop in order to do, and then, Dread was like, nah, you just run around and you free to do whatever you want. And that was amazing. And they can continue to build on that. And I feel like that's inevitable, right? The next Metroid game will play like Dread or better. That means that, again, the next Metroid game after Prime can play like this or better. That means if you liked the vehicle, didn't love it, you liked it, but then a lot of people loved it, that means that thing can become something that the people who liked it in the next game love, and the people who loved it are just now over the moon with the cooler things that they added to that approach of the Metroid game design that was introduced in Prime 4. And now the series is on a whole nother wavelength. You know what I'm saying? Like, people got to understand, like, I remember Grand Theft Auto when it was Grand Theft Auto and thinking like, yo, it was crazy, the stuff you was doing in this little game, And it was a top-down view, and then 3 happened. And while 3 was the shift and everybody remembers it as the takeoff, it wasn't really till probably San Andreas where that IP solidified itself as, yeah, now this is an earth shaker forever. And there ain't nothing you could do to stop it. You know what I'm saying? It's only going to keep snowballing. I feel like that's where it really happened with San Andreas. Like, the other ones was fire. They was massive. But people weren't there 100% for the hype of the rollout of everything. After, what was it, Vice City? Because Vice City was massive. It created the audience that was there to wait and make the snowball for when San Andreas dropped. When San Andreas dropped, that was a different feeling. Like, that was, and anybody who's a GTA fan will probably be able to attest to this. Like, yeah, it was just different. It was completely different. And that game was different. Then the controversy that went with it, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of that. What was it? Hot Coffee, right? I think that was the name of it. But anyway, it was crazy. And I still remember that, like, that whole, the zeitgeist of that game. It just felt massive. You know what I'm saying? Massive. So I'm bringing that up, not to say that Metroid is going to become Grand Theft Auto, but I'm saying that these are the kinds of things that make a series go from, Skyward Sword. Let's keep it real. That was the last one. Skyward Sword. To then Breath of the Wild being, whoa. And Skyward Sword was the worst selling 3D Zelda game. And they went from the worst to the best. And that worst was actually around Metroid Dread sales. But I'm just saying, it was 3 million or something like that. Close to 4 million. And then you get to 30, 40 million of, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom at 20 million man fast. Like, it just became a way bigger thing. And the same thing happened with 3D Mario. And it was these changes, these little open world design changes that added to it. So whatever happens here can be crucial to the success of the next series. You know what I'm saying? Of games. 2D, Prime style. Basically, what I'm saying to wrap this up is that a lot of the things that got Metroid fans shaking in their boots might actually be the catalyst for this series now becoming one of the most popular series out there. It can happen. And it'll be these kinds of swings, these kinds of changes. So while this was supposed to be just about, what's next in terms of the suit, the whole conversation just became what's next in terms of everything. Because there's so many things that can be upgraded when we're talking in-game. And then we're talking outside of the game. The implications of those upgrades in the game can make the game more accessible to people. More people want to play it, more interested in it. It can be like, yo, you got to play this Prime game. You got to play. Everybody talking about it like, yo, what? You know what? I got to switch one right there. I have a Switch 2 already, but I got to switch one right there. Let me pull that out and play this game since everybody talking about it's the greatest game of all time, game of the year, because there's going to be a lot of people like that who just going to be like, yeah, I got a Switch laying around. Matter of fact, let me see what that game is about. It can happen. So, yeah, and then obviously you're going to have the Switch 2 folks out there who want something new to play of this caliber, of this high quality that's brand new, not available anywhere else. Yeah, this is one of those games, man. This is one of those games. And with that, I'm going to ask you to make that dumb notification sound in your map stop. So please open up your map real quick. All right. Yeah, you go to that question mark. You see that door right there? Use your psychic abilities to open doors. And now while you're in there, there's 2 glowing orbs right there. Yeah, turn it to a morph ball. Go into one. There you go. The other one. There you go. You just liked and you subscribed. I appreciate that. I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.